We're back at it today, 1/4 angle measure. We're going to be doing 2 days on this lesson. The first video is going to be slightly longer, so we'll get right into it. So press pause, go ahead and take notes on this, and then I will go over it with you. Okay, so array, now this is a new vocabulary word. It has an endpoint and extends infinitely in one direction. So it's unlike a line because a line goes on in both directions. It's unlike a segment because a segment has two endpoints. So array has one endpoint and then extends in the other direction. So you notice in the drawing over here there's one little dot, the line, and then the arrow. So to do that we draw one endpoint and an arrow. We name the rays starting by the endpoint first. So you'll notice here that P is the endpoint, so you have to denote P as the first letter in your ray. So can a ray be named stating the letters forward and backwards? No, this is not going to be an okay way of representing that ray because we need to put it in order from the endpoint. So opposite rays are a point on a line determines exactly two rays, and they are called opposite rays. Since both rays share a common endpoint, the rays are collinear. So what we will do here is just draw a ray in one direction. We would have a little dot as the endpoint, and then we would have the ray in the other direction. So these rays are called collinear because they're on the same line. So another vocabulary word is angle, and today we're going to be talking about angles and a couple of vocabulary words to do with them. But a ray is formed by a ray is formed by two non-collinear rays that have a common endpoint. The rays are called the sides of the angle, and they have a common vertex. So here we have a ray. This would be considered a side. This would be considered a vertex. And then we would have the other ray. And this would be another side. So what we do is we want to just talk about a couple things. We have this vocabulary interior versus exterior. So the interior would be like if you have the angle sign, and the stuff inside the angle would be interior. The stuff on the outside would be the exterior. So I have a couple examples for you to look at down there. So here's another example of interior and exterior. So the other thing we need to talk about is how we refer to an angle. So it's very specific when we talk about an angle and being able to name it correctly. So let's take, for instance, let's go ahead and draw something here. So let's say we have this angle and this point down here. We'll call that P, that's the vertex, and then we have Q, and then we have R. So since P right here is the vertex, what we have to do is we can name it two different ways. The first way, we can just call it angle P. But the thing is, you can only do that when you have exactly one angle. So you can see here that there is only one angle in the picture I drew. So that's the thing with that one. You can only use one letter in that case. The second case is you're going to write them in order with P being the vertex has to be in the middle. So you'd say either Q, P, R, so that one's fine, or we could say R, P, Q. So this P, since it's the vertex, has to be in the middle. So here we go. So in the last slide we talked about how we can name an angle with one letter only if there's not more than one angle. So I want you to notice right here, B, there's an angle there, and there's an angle there. So therefore we cannot use just one letter. We would have to use two letters to refer to any angle when we're talking about in this case. So name the angles that have B as a vertex. Well, there's actually going to be 4 of them. I'm going to show you where they're at. So the first one is right here. So we're going to name that angle. We put the angle sign, and we would say either GBA or ABG. Either way is fine. GBA, or we could turn that around and say ABG. You only need one. So then we have another angle here, which is ABD. So we would name that. So angle ABD. Or we could reverse that and say DBA. So we're not done. We still have a vertex here of B in this spot. So we would have to name that angle then. So that one could be DBE, or we could name it angle EBD. So we're almost done. We have one more angle to get to over here. Let's go with, we haven't used red yet. So here we have this one. So we could name that one angle, let's see, EBG, or angle GBE. Now when you're doing this, you only need one. You don't need to have all 8 of these. You would need to have one from this set, one from this set, one from this set, and one from that set. So just take a minute, make sure you have this written down. I'm going to press pause and then clear my screen. Hang on. Okay, so now we're on to part B. It says name the sides of angle 5. So angle 5 is right here, and we want to name the sides. So we have to look at the names of the sides there, and we have angle, not angle anymore. It's just GB, or, and, not or, but and, EB. So just make sure that you get this. I messed it up the first time, but GB and EB. Now just remember that we could have reversed those, saying BG and BE. That's fine. So we want to go with another name for angle 6. So we got to figure out where angle 6 is, which is right here. So since there is a number here, they're asking us to name it again with 3 letters. And so to do it with 3 letters, we have to think about that vertex. So in order to think about the vertex 1, we have to look back at the angle. So we're looking at angle 6. And again, we see we have some other points on there. So there's a couple of ways we could do this. We're going to write the angle sign, and we could say DBE, or we could say angle DBF, or we could reverse the order, EBD, or angle FBD. And again, you just need one. So on the next slide, I'd like you to press pause, try it out, see if you can get the answer, and then I'll go through it with you. Okay, so point X here has, let me just try to draw this. Point X has this little spot. So we want to name an angle that has point X as its vertex. And we only have one letter over here and one letter over here. We have the name of the point there, so there's a couple of ways we could do this. So one way that you could name that is to say, well, angle RXB, or you could name it RXN. So that's one way you could do that. Another way that you could do that is just to say angle 1, because that is an angle in that with X as a vertex. So you can use some numbers. Another way you could do that is talking about angle 2, or you could even use angle 3. So you could use other letters, so instead of maybe angle 3, you want to say A, X, B. So there's several ways that you could do that. The next question, I'm going to just clear my screen here. So the next question is, which ray is a side of angle 3? So we have to look at angle 3, which is right here, and a side. So we either have this side, which is XN, or we could say XB. Here we could say only XA. So you could say either one of them. So XA or XB or XN. Right, and then we have angle 3. We're going to rename that. Instead of a number, we're going to use some letters. So here we go, angle 3. So angle 3, we could name that as angle. We got to put X in the middle, A, X, B, or we could say AXN. Or we could reverse all of those. It doesn't really matter. So just choose one. Okay, so I do apologize that this video is a little bit longer. I'm going to try to edit it down here after I record. But then we're just going to be talking about some other vocabulary words. These should not be new to you, but we have right angles, acute angles, and obtuse angles. So an obtuse angle, we're going to get any time that value is going to be bigger than this 90 degrees. So obtuse is going to be bigger than 90, acute is going to be smaller than 90, and then a right is going to be exactly 90. So how do they get the degrees in a circle? Well, they take it by dividing the distance around a circle into 360 parts. And this would measure up to 360 degrees. So you've probably done something like this, like if you're skiing or something like that, you've gone all the way around, and we call it a 360. So when we talk about angle measure, we have a little symbol. This one actually is kind of tilted wrong, but it's angle DEF is 50 degrees, or we could say angle just E equals 50 degrees, so we would have a picture something like this. Where here, let's say that this is D, this is E, and then we have something over here which is F. So we're not actually going to be using angle measure here, even though that it does talk about it, because I don't want to be using, have you guys be using materials. So just know that we start by 0, so if we're going to count in this direction, we'd count up from 0. If we had a really big angle, let's say if we drew it like this, it's supposed to be straight. So if I drew it like this, then I'm going to start here and read it this way, and again, I'm reading it on the bottom line because we start with 0 when we count. So this would be about 140 degrees. So when we talk about a right angle, there's this symbol that we typically use right here, and it's like it makes a square in the corner, and we would just write it as a little square in the corner. And then I have the picture already there. And then we have an angle, an acute angle. Again, those are going to be less than 90 degrees, and we're just going to write it as angle A, let's say, is acute. And we would have something like this. And we'll call this A. Alright, let's go on to the next one. We have an obtuse angle, and again, this is just something greater than 90. So you're looking here that this measures something greater than 90. So if I call this P, you could say the measure of angle P is obtuse. Sorry, I'm running out of room. I forgot I should add that to this last screen, that we should put an M here, because that's talking about the measure, or how big it is. The last vocabulary word in this section is called an angle bisector, and I don't know why this gets kids really confused sometimes, but it's just talking about something that cuts something else in half. So an angle bisector is just going to cut it in half. So here we'd have a picture. Let's say that we have this angle here, and let's go with a different color. We're going to say, like here, this ray is going to cut the original one into two separate parts. So we would have some notation that would say, like, this is the same as this. Alright, so the next examples are just going to go through classifying. So we have, we'll start with practicing labeling them. So here we'd have TYV, sorry. And you'll notice right here that there is a right angle, which means that this also is a right angle symbol. So this one is going to be right. So erase. Okay, and then we're going to go on to the next one, WYT, so W, Y, okay, and that one is going to be obtuse. Then we go on to the next one, and we're looking at T, Y, U, and that one would be acute. Alright, press pause, go ahead and try the next one on your own, and then I will go through the answers with you. Okay, check your answers. I kind of drew them out if you want to press pause and then just check. So that is the end of today's lesson, and we just have a few small things to be doing tomorrow. Alright, bye for now.